just in case it gets to that point.
Cool.
All right, Miss Anita, you are live in all locations.
Excellent. All right. Good evening, beautiful souls. I am the CBD Genie, your cannabis science communicator and the liaison between Mother Earth and the science behind her elements and microorganisms. If we don't know each other already, please find me on Instagram at cbd.genie and let's get connected. I'm honored to be the MC for the Texas NORML Open meeting this evening because tonight you're going to hear from some lovely cannabis queens from Texas and our special gem from Portland, Oregon. But before I get started, I'd like to thank Texas NORML for providing the stage to keep the cannabis science conversation going. More specifically, shout out to the executive director of Texas NORML, Jax Finkel. And I just want to thank our speakers for their time and for sharing their passions with us this evening. But most importantly, last but not least, thank you all for joining us this evening and just tuning in because life is busy and I appreciate your time. So a quick overview of what to expect this evening. I'll just kick us off with some cannabis science and a little collaboration talk. Our first speaker is Dr. Carla Johanning, and she's going to be discussing CBD and lab testing. Next, we'll have Lisa Snyder, and she's going to touch on creating alliances. And after both the speakers share their knowledge, we're going to have time for a little Q&A. So make sure you jump on this opportunity while we have these queens live. So after Q&A, Jax will take it away with some updates. And then finally, I'll wrap it up and close it in the end. So let's get started by addressing the elephant in the room. Why in the heck am I wearing my Mad Hatter hat? Well, mainly because today, October 6th, is National Mad Hatter Day. So let's go down the rabbit hole, shall we? Now that I have, shrunk in size, let's talk elements. Some of the elements in the periodic table are within you. Every single molecule in your body has a carbon and a hydrogen. How are your oxygen levels? What's going on with your iron, potassium, sodium, magnesium, just to name a few. There are all these elements on the periodic table. However, not all elements are created equal. Mercury is an element found on the periodic table, but the difference in this element is it's highly toxic. It's poisonous to the human body, in fact. So what does Mad Hatter Day have to do with anything? Well, back in the day, if you were part of the hat manufacturing biz, then you most definitely were exposed to inhaling mercurial nitrate vapor. That's what it was, but I'm just going to go ahead and say mercury. So unfortunately, these employees had no idea that mercury vapor was doing harm to their central nervous systems. So how does this relate to cannabis? Well, it just so happens that mercury is one of the usual suspects of heavy metals that can be tested in a cannabis analytical diagnostic lab. Remember, cannabis would be considered a phytoremediation plant, having the ability to absorb toxic elements from the soil, basically accumulating these heavy metals through the root systems. Hence why soil health is key. Ching. So thanks to science and technology and all the advancements, we can truly understand the quality or the health of cannabis. It's just like when you go get some blood work done and you want to understand your own personal health, like with the elements, same. So that's why I'm happy to say that our first speaker will be getting into the science with CBD and lab testing. But before we go there, though, I'd like to personally say, I hope you all are all doing well during these uncertain times, because your environment plays a key role in your life's balance. Mental health It is so important in making healthy choices. Now, I'm no doctor, but it's important to have a support system, right? A group of individuals or individual that share similar values, some type of outlet. So personally, my outlet is reconnecting with Mother Earth out on the farm. There is nothing more rewarding to me than being a steward of the land and working with the elements. You learn to adapt and overcome quick with everything. So just like we need a shoulder to lean on, I've enjoyed watching how nature too needs support, whether we're talking about a bamboo trellis where the peas are using it to have support in growing in the garden, or my favorite, the tendrils from the honeydew melons. You know those like little small appendages that come out, they spiral and they hook onto everything, right? Including each other. And it's so super cute when you see these little tendrils. It's like they're holding hands, and it's almost like they're saying, I'm here, you're not alone, we can do this, we got this, right? So it's just been fun watching nature and just watching every living organism respond. So my personal cannabis journey has been a serendipitous one, no doubt, and it's brought me around full circle, and I'm back to the start, literally, which still brings me back to soil health, because a farmland, it takes time to bring it back to life, especially if it's been left abandoned. And I've enjoyed, bringing or building a worm compost bin, planting mushrooms, a butterfly garden, a winter crop, and one day I'll have cannabis out there. But until then, I'm working really hard with life in the microorganisms and focusing on soil health. And at this time, I'd like to extend an invitation that if you want to come out and get your hands dirty on the farm, get some quality vitamin D, some movement, some grounding, drinking a lot of water, and just connecting with Mother Earth, please DM me at cbd.genie. I'd love to share the positive energy that the farm brings. And to the businesses out there, I'd also love to work with you all and offer the farm as a venue for workshops, events, photography. Soil health workshops are coming soon, and all funds made go directly back into the farm to continue the cycle of education. So I'm excited to hear our second speaker, who's going to get into creating alliances and working together. So without further ado, let's get started. And I'm going to go ahead and read our first speaker's bio. So Dr. Carla Johanning is a native of Costa Rica, came to the US for grad school, got her master's in fisheries and aquaculture and Ph.D. in biological sciences. She did 2 postdocs at LSU Medical Center and Tulane Cancer Center. After Katrina hit New Orleans, she came to Austin and made the leap into the cannabis industry and worked in a contract research organization testing drugs for regulatory compliance. She started a biotech company, KJ Scientific, back in 2014, testing chemicals, drugs, pesticides, terpenes, ingredients in consumer goods and personal care products for compliance to make sure that they are safe not only for human, but environmental health. That led to the expansion and growth of the company into cannabis testing and created a subsidiary, KJ Scientific Independent Testing Labs, where she is the CEO and founder, and it is a ISO 17025 accredited lab. And what they do there is testing for potency, metals, pesticides, residual solvents, terpenes, microbials, and 5 moistures. In all matrices as well, flower material, extraction products, and even like CBD infused manufactured products like gummies. So her passion is environmental biology as it relates to human and environmental health safety. Her beliefs are cannabinoids are a great opportunity to eliminate opiates in a society which kills people. Her mission is to elevate the standards in testing to ensure safety of products for humans and environmental health. Her frustration is the lack of oversight and enforcement of product safety from regulatory agencies, letting lots of products out in the market that are not safe for consumption. Her hope, educate not only the hemp industry, but the consumer to demand higher standards in products. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Carla Johanning.
Thank you so much. Hang on a second, there is something here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yes. Thank you for such an introduction. You made my job easier, and to follow your passion the way that you talk, Anita, I'll give it a shot, but it's hard because you're always connecting with people in such a great way. And again, I'm going to give a shout out to you for what you're doing, educating people, and Jax the same for the work that you've been doing with NORML. So thank you, ladies, and I'm going behind you. I'm gonna try to catch up with you. So anyways, yeah, so yes, Costa Rica, that is why you hear an accent. And yes, it's been the mission of my life, my profession, to do things that they're meaningful in science. And the umbrella of all what I've done is safety. Safety for human and environmental health. Let's not forget environmental health, because everything is a full circle. So while I was preparing for this, I was trying to think, what are the things that I really want you to take after what I'm going to be talking? And there are 5 things that, let's see if I manage to translate the message to you. Why hemp and CBD testing? Why that is important? How we do it? Why this ISO 17025 is important, and why should you care? What are the requirements, regulations in Texas? And what can you do to get the industry in the right place so we don't F it up, basically, is bottom line. Again, we're moving forward, sometimes not at a pace that we would like to, but also we have to make sure that all of us, we get educated and we talk facts. So in order to go all over the topics, so why hemp testing is important. So I would say that there's 3 things. 1, compliance. So if you're a grower or you're a farmer, you need to prove that here in the state where the other cannabis is not legal except for just a specific purpose, medicinal purposes. So you need to show that what you're growing is hemp. And how do you show that? Is by testing your crop and making sure that the total percent of the THC is below 0.3%. I know what everybody's thinking. I do too. We're stuck with this number because of 2 botanists, don't hate them. This is back in the 70s that they were looking at how they could classify all these cannabis plants. And they decided that the cutoff between hemp and marijuana, it was 0.3%. And we're stuck with that. So remember, business opportunities, technology, culture, everything goes faster. Regulations, they're always behind. So we need to work on that. So again, so it's important because of compliance. 2, potency. We need to know how much of the cannabinoids is, whether it's in the flour, in the oils, or manufactured products. And the 3rd, again, everything is safety. We as consumers, we need to make sure that what we ingest, that what we put on, that what we use, because chemicals are all around us. And Anita, she can, translate all these messages well. We're surrounded by elements, by chemicals. So we as consumers, we need to demand to see certificate of analysis. If you don't know how to read those certificate analysis, call the labs and ask, could you please get me through this? I got the certificate analysis of this product. This comes from your lab, and you have the right. All of us, we have the right to make sure that what we put on and we ingest is safe. So, and again, what Anita, she was saying, cannabis is weed, absorbs everything from the soil, from the water. So that is why it's also important to test the water and the soil before you do anything else. So the second thing that I wanted to talk is, how do you do the testing? So you hear chromatography, yada, yada. Well, chromatography is a technology, uses instruments for many types of industry, the pharma industry, the food science industry, environmental testing. Everything that is a chemical, we can test with this chromatography. So what chromatography does is basically, again, big picture, because we don't need to get into details and go over anybody's head. So it does three things. Separates chemicals, because usually you have chemicals in mixtures. Separates the chemicals, identifies them, and quantifies them. So the identification and quantification is against reference materials. These reference materials, we as labs, we have to purchase them from certified manufacturers, from accredited vendors. So to make sure that what it is, and how much they say it is, because we need to test. The unknown is the samples that they're brought to our lab. Those are unknown samples. And we have to test them against known chemicals and known amounts. That is how we give the results. So that, again, is big picture. All this gives reliability in the results. And one of the things that also I wanted to touch is why ISO 17025, yada, yada, that you hear, why is that important? So if you are a lab and you are working under these standards, the standards are up here. That means that you're using reagents, you're using all the balance, the equipment, everything is qualified, is accredited. Every single morning, we have to go into the lab and make sure that our refrigerators, freezers, they're working under a certain range of temperature. If they're not, then everything that is in, no good. So we cannot use them to test anything. So all these standards that you have to work under standard operating procedures, SOPs, everything gets documented, everything is traceable. You have to think as a lawyer, the result that you end up giving has to be traced, because if there is a mishap, everything has to be traced back to the point that you got that sample. So work under ISO standards is working under very strict standards, and also that decreases the variability that in the results. There's always uncertainty. There's a little margin of error, but instead of being this big, it should be this big. So that is why it's important. And another thing that I wanted to mention, many labs, they say, well, we're ISO accredited. That is the word, accredited, and with certified test methods. So ask, if you're inquiring for a full panel, so you make sure that that lab is ISO accredited for all the tests, because you can say, oh, we're ISO accredited, and maybe it's just for potency. But if you're doing full panel, that means metals and pesticides and residual solvents and microbials. You have to make sure that all those tests also are under the high standards. So that is something that you have to inquire. Now, if we talk about requirements in Texas, so basically there's two agencies that they are in charge of the regulations of the flower material, oils, and manufactured products. So is the Texas Department of Agriculture and DISH, the Texas Department of the State Human Services, Health Services. I always mess that up, DISH. So when it comes to the crop, when it comes to growers, farmers, so you're under the TDA regulation up to the point that that is harvested, and up to the point that that materials goes into extraction facilities. From the moment that that oil is extracted to manufacture products, dish comes in. So TDA and dish. So let's see, what is that TDA cares? They care that they want to make sure that you're growing hemp and not marijuana. So again, you have to prove that the total THC is below that 0.3%. For dish purposes, this is very important to know. So you are required, if you're manufacturing a tincture or a product, you have to make sure that you're testing for potency, what it is and how much of what it is there, of the cannabinoids, metals. Remember, for the metals, it's something easy to remember, the clam. The heavy metals are cadmium, C for cadmium, L for lead, A for arsenic, and M for mercury. Anita, she touched on the mercury. That is very important. And you shouldn't have in any product, any of those heavy metals. And believe me, we find them. So make sure that they are not there. Make sure that if the COA of the product that you're purchasing, tells you if the product is clean. So potency, metals, residual solvents, because many of the facilities use solvents to extract these oils. So you have to make sure that they're not in the product. Then pesticides. So pesticides here under dish, there are 31 pesticides. We, in our lab, we actually test for 61 pesticides. So the more, the better. It's not that, not that people do things on purpose. Pesticides have been used for many years. So if you're growing something and you have these wonderful plants sucking all this up, so you better make sure that, that you don't have it in the products. Then microbials. Microbials includes molds and bacteria, E. coli, Salmonella, Aspergillus. Then terpenes. Terpenes is not required. Terpenes is something that is of interest in the other cannabis industry because of the entourage effect with the cannabinoids. Terpenes, they're very interesting. Terpenes are the chemicals that give the flavor and the smell to any single plant. We have been ingesting terpenes forever. So they're everywhere. If you see your cleaning products, you're gonna see limonene. If you have some lotions, you're gonna see limonene. So they're basically everywhere. It's nothing new. The fragrance industry and food industry have been putting these chemicals for many years in products. So, but they're really interesting chemicals to understand, and we need to understand more about it. And the last thing, again, that I wanted to say is what is the role that we have in all this? Again, demand safety, educate ourselves. And I want to give a shout out to organizations like the Texas Hemp Coalition. I'm in the board of the organization, and that is a place where you can get educated. Also, you have organizations like Higher Ed, Hemp Tours, also big in education. We all need to be educated. So demand safety, educate ourselves, and not last, not the least. And I know it's gonna sound like a broken record, but we have the power to elect our officials that represent us, all of us, our interest. So that is very important. So with this, I think that I'm gonna wrap it up. You can find us, our labs are in Georgetown, Texas. The website is kjscientific.com. You can find there the ISO certification. And we don't hide anything. We're very transparent. We're in Instagram, KJSci, KJSCI_testing. We're in Facebook. You can call us. I don't remember numbers, 512-864-1846, or you can email me at carla.johanning@kjscientific.com. And again, education is a huge part of all this. All of us, including myself, we need to keep educating. So thank you very much for this opportunity. And again, we're here, guys, for you to to ask questions, whether it's now or later.
Wow. Thank you so much, Karla. I appreciate your cannabis science journey and all the information that you gave us today. Nailed it. Great work. That was awesome. Yeah, we'll go ahead and move right along right now. We're going to go to Lisa. I'm going to read her bio, and then we're going to do the Q&A. So just hang on tight.
Perfect.
We're going to move on. We're going to keep on going. All right. So moving right along, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Let's see, Lisa Snyder is the co-founder and chief innovation officer of Tokeativity, the global feminist community for active cannabis culture, coming at you from Oregon. She is a feminist and plant medicine advocate with over 25 years of digital strategy experience and has passionately supported the self-healing revolution through consumption and plant medicine advocacy. Now, I got to say real quick, I've had the pleasure of sitting in on a Tokeativity live event. And let me tell you, I was excited because all the women making moves, it was really moving, so powerful. So as I made new connections, I knew I had to invite her also to make new connections here in Texas. Yes, this is Texas NORML, but I absolutely love bringing queens from other states to share their journeys and passions. So shout out to Portland, the only city that reminds me of my hometown, Austin. So beautiful souls, without further ado, our next speaker is Lisa from Tokeativity.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's been such a pleasure to get to know you a little bit, and I'm really excited to get to know all of our Texas community members and those who are yet to learn about us. And so thank you so much for having me. I'm going to be talking about creating alliances today. I'm really excited to share with you a little bit about that. And if you don't know about Tokeativity, I wanted to share a little bit about who we are. We were founded in 2016 in Portland, Oregon. We are the largest cannabis feminist community in the world. We are a network of active cannabis consumers and business owners that believe in cannabis normalization, equity, and empowerment of a modern consumption culture. We connect through creative, social, political, intersectional, feminist forward activities and creative campaigns, along with events that work to create radical positive change and connect consumers to brands that align. We have hosted over 325 consumption-friendly events in person in different cities across the globe, as well as online. And we do have a unique window into the ever-evolving consumption landscape. We are a bridge between consumers and the cannabis industry, which is really fun and unique perspective to have. Some of our demographics. We have an organic social reach of over 58,000, over 6.6 thousand Tokeativity members, and annual website traffic of over 1 million. It's been so exciting to be on this journey over the last 5 years. And I have worked with so many, and we have worked with so many clients and collaborators along the way. This is just a handful of them, but of our current ones that we've worked with. You might recognize, NCIA, maybe you've recognized PAX, Levo. These are nationwide communities that have a really big reach. So I wanted to share a little bit about some of the legalization campaigns that we've actually helped and what we did for them. Kind of give you a little picture as to how you might be able to actually create connections and align yourself with the things that you're passionate about, whether it's, cannabis legalization in Texas, consumption law, which is something that isn't really talked about. It's kind of like shoved into the background of bills and not really, nobody really does anything with. But anyway, we actually helped to pass Oregon Measure 109, the Psilocybin for Therapeutic Use bill, by being asked to participate in, email and social media, donations through our website, motivational speaking through their digital phone bank while they were doing their phone banking. We also, this is super important, we got 63 mom signatures in the voter pamphlet. We could not have done that if we weren't doing this work and we weren't inviting the people that align with us and the women that align with us to participate, and they wouldn't have known about it either. So another thing that we did assist with, but that did not advance, was Senate Bill 307, which was basically legalizing consumption at events. Obviously, as a consumption-friendly event series at the time, this is something we were very passionate about. We still are, but there was a lot of opposition from health and school organizations, as well as our Hardcore Indoor Clean Air Act. We did as much as we possibly could to get women and moms to join, in-person testimonials at the state capitol. We met with individual senators about the issue. We also utilized our individual membership and did some outreach to specific zip codes to encourage writing representatives on their particular committees, as well as awareness campaigns around the internet. Another thing I did not advance, which was really sad, but I hope it has a different reiteration, was the Oregon Cannabis Equity Act. It changed during the campaign to the Oregon Equity Investment Act, which was supposed to provide equal opportunity for Black, Indigenous, Latinx ownership in the growing cannabis industry, and invest back into those communities disproportionately impacted by the overall policing and cannabis criminalization. I'm not honestly sure why I did not advance. This was more of a recent thing, but we did our best as a community to support that, and we want to support things like this, and we want to be alerted to things like this as well, so we can help spread the word. This was kind of fun to participate in. California SB 519, the Decriminalization and Healing for Californians, which makes it lawful for the possession and personal use and social sharing of psilocybin, DMT, LSD, and MDMA. I learned that this bill is moving forward and is turning into a 2-year bill, which will be voted on next year by California. So the last thing here that we've been like heavily politically involved in is that the city of Portland invited us to assist in the creation of the consumption guidelines for the city. Nobody has these things, and we wouldn't have been able to help make this happen unless we were kind of pushing the envelope and pushing the edge on what we were doing. And I'm sure there's probably some questions like, how did you have consumption events if it's not totally legal? Well, there are gray areas, and there's also legal language around private spaces. So I can talk to you more about that. Among other things, we have also worked on creative and interactive campaigns, as well as market research campaigns for some popular brands out there. And that is something that we will continue to do to support what we're doing. So this is kind of how it all started. We didn't always have 1 million visits a year on our website, and we didn't always have 6.6 thousand members. But it all started at my business partner Samantha's house. I had pitched her on Tokeativity, and she had been hosting consumption-friendly events for 2 years. And so this is kind of like the seed before everything happened. And we started as an event series, but it very quickly turned into a local community that turned into a statewide community that turned into a national and then international community. So it all starts somewhere, and this is where it started. So I wanted to talk about alliances. And so I was like, okay, let's get down to the nitty gritty here. How is alliance defined? And alliance is defined according to the interwebs here, a union or association formed for mutual benefit, especially between countries or organizations, or a relationship based on affinity, interest, nature, or qualities. So I pinpointed the word relationship here because alliances and collaborations are based on relationships, and our work in the world is, and all of us here today, is really relationship based. So, what does it also mean to collaborate? You might also, along the way, you might get DMs, people being like, let's collaborate. And it's like, what does that mean? So here's the definition of it, and I will talk about it a little further. Work jointly on an activity, especially to produce or create something. So join forces. This is what we're all doing here today. Tokeativity and Texas NORML are joining forces just for this moment in time, but there could be so much more down the pipeline and so many more ways we could help, Texas specifically if we were to work together on things. It's just one example. So what does it really mean to collaborate or align in the cannabis space? this is an exchange of energy, and it works best with win-wins for all. You have the potential of supporting each other long-term. I see a lot of people who get involved in things and they don't really know exactly why they're doing it, but they kind of just like the person, or maybe they kind of, seem like they might be in alignment, but does this business or organization have the potential of supporting you and vice versa long-term, and do they align with your values? So, this picture is from our first birthday party in January 2018, and just sort of an energy exchange. It's me and Samantha who had two different things going on in our lives, and we came together to make something better. So you don't have to read this, but I do encourage you to read and watch our Tokeativity Manifesto. This is our open dialogue with the world about what kind of world we envision, what we believe, and what we commit to as a company. And we are constantly looking for people to work with who align with these values. And we don't always know what people's values are, but we can have a conversation about it and ask them, have you read our manifesto? Do you align with those things? And it's usually a good meter as to, moving forward in a particular collaboration. So feel free to check that out later. It is on our website on the navigation. So how do alliances get created? You might be like, oh, I know how to do this, but there's some really important pieces of information that I think really need to be communicated along the way. Because I see a lot of relationships that go south quickly over the last 5 years, and I see a lot of holes in relationship building. So this is very important to learn, especially as a state like Texas is, building your CBD relationships and eventually your cannabis relationships and your THC legal relationships. It's so important to start with the bones of something good. So you want to find people and companies that you want to work with. I mean, that seems kind of like duh, but like you want to work with them. Do you feel good about them? Do they excite you and what they're doing? Great, check. Invite them to a short-term creative project. So, that could be an event, because events have beginning, middle, and end. I have some ideas about other creative projects you can try on. But if you want to test the waters of if a collaboration is right for you, then you can, invite them to a short-term project that does have a beginning, middle, and an end. Getting clear about what you're giving and what you're getting on both sides and writing it down. This is very important, and you can kind of next level it. You can do it with an email, or you can do it with an actual agreement. And things like HelloSign will allow you for 3 free documents online. If you want to kind of next level, like what you're giving, what you're getting, but also an email can also be a nice thing to lean on. Create easy to repeat recipes. Like event sponsorship is great, and giveaways are a good starter. You've probably seen a lot of those online and on Instagram. I came up with these little acronyms: ABT, always be tweaking, which is, always be tweaking your recipes, like a good soup. You might have your recipe down, but you might want to add like a little bit of paprika next time or whatever, because you want to kick things up, spice things up a notch. Like make sure that you're tweaking your recipes to make things better. The same thing doesn't always work. And always be assessing, one person or one company or one organization 3 years ago might not be organized by the same people. So check in again to see if you still align. Successful collaborations have clear deliverables and exchanges, as I mentioned, about emails and agreements are very helpful. Honest communication and accountability. This is huge. And this is something that I see and I have seen a lot of holes in the cannabis industry. A lot of people don't know how to deal with confrontation. They don't know how to deal with difficult conversations, and it can really ruin relationships. So try to practice good, honest communication and being accountable for your actions, and you will go very, very far. Focusing on professional relationship development and removal of personal feelings. This is also really important, especially coming from a woman's perspective. I think we wear our hearts on our sleeve, and many times it's easy to kind of like blur the line between feelings and also like being professional, just stay on the professional path and you'll be fine. And always have good boundaries. Good boundaries are really important as well. These are a few things that successful collaborations and alliances do not include, which includes no limits or boundaries, guilt or shame energy, ghosting, jealousy, sabotage, personal feelings, and using people or one-way streets. Relationships are all about give and take. Here are a few ideas that worked. I mentioned that, you know, event-specific things, giving free tables or free access to those you want to work with, logos on graphics, social media sharing is great, or media partnerships, tagging cohorts, and show people who you really are, you know, and it's really all about win-wins for everybody. So there's so much more to say, but I just want to thank you so much for having me today. And I'd like to invite you all to join us for our next digital event, which is actually Witchy Woman on October 20th. We do have all of our events scheduled through June 2022. You can RSVP at tokeativity.com/events. Or if you're looking to work with us, or if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out, connect@tokeativity.com.
Yes. Thank you so much, Lisa. Yes, you can't see me, but I'm so happy. That was awesome, girlfriend. Wow. Yes, queen. Everything you were saying, I wish you could. I was just nodding my head like, yep, absolutely. 100. You're just nailing it. So I really appreciate your time. I'm wondering, hey, Jax, are there any Facebook questions for either of these two queens so we can get the Q&A started?
Yes, there's some questions about making sure that you're properly identifying a good COA, a good certificate of authenticity.
All right, Karla,
Yes.
that sounds like yes, ma'am.
I know. Yes, in fact, actually, I've been talking to Cynthia and Leah. That is one of the things that we wanna also do a presentation. So the COAs, they should have several portions, but if say if you're thinking about potency, all the we call them analytes, what you analyze, all the cannabinoids, they should be there. The limit of quantitation should be there. The percentage by weight should be there. Uncertainty, we are required to you know, to give that as well. The uncertainty plus minus, you know, the 0.x% plus minus. There is a number of uncertainty associated to your specific lab. And then, you know, you should have an explanation about the total THC. Sometimes graphics that helps. We have one that actually, we're not the only ones. We use donuts, and, you know, the visual it helps. But again, you know, these are things that, I mean, call the labs, call us, because you have the right to ask all these questions. You're not supposed to, you know, you're not in the lab seeing this. So you need to understand this. And again, part of the education, we're gonna be doing this shortly, but that is one way. But again, if it is a product, you should have the potency, you should have the metals, the pesticides, residual solvents, and microbials. So you have to make sure that if you're ingesting or putting something on, those 5 tests, they should be there.
Awesome, thank you. And then for Lisa, there was a question about some of the decriminalized nature type initiative that was on there having to do with psilocybin, and just wanting a little bit more information about that.
Yes. So if you go to, there's a forward, I don't remember what the new website is right now, but if you Google Oregon Measure 109, psilocybin for therapeutic use, there is a new website for the organization that is doing the 2-year long rulemaking process. It's going to take 2 years to make the rules for our new law. And you can follow along, you can get on their email list, and you can keep up with what's going on there. It's really fascinating. And I'll see if maybe by the time before this is over, I can grab that, that URL and I'll pop it in the chat box.
Awesome. Thank you. That's what I have from Facebook. Anita, did you have?
Yeah, I actually had a question, Lisa, when you were talking about legal consumption in private places. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? I'm just interested in what you have to say on that part.
Yes. So in Oregon, I don't know what the law is in Texas, but in Oregon, our law was written that for THC consumption that you could consume in private. So what does private mean? If you literally Google private, it says out of the public eye. So all of our events, when we were doing in-person events, we were doing out of the public eye and not making accessible to the public. So I actually created a membership-based platform specifically so that we could have consumption events, and then we can have private consumption events because it wasn't accessible to the public. You had to apply to get in to the website. And then you had to confirm that you were over 21. You also had to agree to our terms and everything. So we really did everything we possibly could to be, as legal as possible, being like, this is what's happening. You're responsible for yourself, etc. And, it was always a little edgy. However, in Portland, it became, we became more aware that the city of Portland actually wanted consumption events, but they just couldn't figure out how to what language to use. So that's where they leaned on us and others that have been in the space for a long time on how to craft consumption guidelines. I actually went looking for them right before this meeting and I couldn't easily find them. So I don't know if they removed them from the website or what, but what's sad about, private if you live in federal housing, you still are doing something illegal, even if you're consuming privately. So there's a lot of injustice that comes with that private residence kind of language. And it's all about the language about, what you can do and where you can do it. And that's very important for states to consider as they're working towards legalization language. I really do wish that the states wrote that in the bill. There's Nevada is coming online with their consumption lounges right now, which is really exciting. New York has consumption written into their law, but a lot of other states did not write, specific consumption language, which is why it's confusing and not 100% legal. So it ends up being in the gray area.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. Fantastic answer. Well, Jax, if we don't have anything else, we can just go ahead and move on. I'll go ahead and read your bio and we can keep going. Anything else on Facebook?
I mean, Sunita's saying, go Carla, Dave is like, we all go back to the soil eventually, Anita, so I mean, it's just a lot of love comments, vibing with what people are talking about. But those were, I think, the main questions. I don't think I missed any.
Awesome. Well, shout out to Hemp Tour, Cynthia, Leah, everyone out there giving love, Dave. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and move right along. I'm going to go ahead and read your bio, Jax. Jax Finkel is the executive director for Texas NORML and has been involved in reform since 2005. Jax has participated in hundreds of interviews, many panel discussions and speaking engagements, including events at LBJ Library and co-keynote at the Drug Impact Conference. She innovated the first ever cannabis-centric voter guide in 2012 and prepares it for each election season. In 2017, she founded Foundation for an Informed Texas, which produced a successful medical cannabis ad campaign airing on MSNBC and Fox News, which reached over 1.8 million Texans. She created curriculums, helped organize and execute regional trainings from 2015 to present. She offers expert testimony before City Council and the Texas Legislature, and much, much more. That's just a little sprinkle. This queen right here, when it comes to Texas cannabis policy, she's it. And take it away, Jax.
Thank you, Anita. I appreciate that. Make it tooting my horn. Thank you. So today what I really wanted to chat with everybody about is the Texas Compassionate Use Program. Just a month ago, some new changes were implemented in the program. And Anita mentioned Foundation for an Informed Texas, which I also work with, and I work together with them to put together this FAQ, this one-pager, frequently asked questions to help people understand the process. And so the foundation also put on a totally free tutorial to the patients due to, our sponsors, thankfully, doing that so that we could provide it at no cost. We think it's really important because it's not like getting a normal prescription from your HEB pharmacy. So let's go ahead and start from the top, talking about, do I qualify? So some of the changes that were made had to do with qualifications. PTSD was added, and all forms of cancer now are available for access. But there are about 100 different conditions if you include all of the incurable neurological disorders. But the main conditions that are covered are epilepsy and seizure disorders, cancer, PTSD, multiple sclerosis, cerebral palsy, spasticity, which is really more of a symptom than a condition, autism, peripheral neuropathies, so that actually will help some people with pain, ALS, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, Huntington's, and of course on this one pager there is a link to the full list of conditions. So now if you have one of these conditions or symptoms, now thinking about how do you enroll? Well, there's a physician registry that you can search for physicians. However, physicians have the opportunity to check, yes, I want to be displayed, or no, I don't. So you may not be able to see all of the doctors in your area. So just to let you know, there last reported by DPS were just under 400 doctors that were registered in the physician registry. So it's also important that you have the information on how physicians can register in the program. If you have a condition and you want to qualify and there's no physician near you, you can take it to your specialist and say, hey, this is something I want to try. If you fill out this paperwork, you can enroll me in the program. Now, telemedicine is available by some physicians, and it's ideal for patients that already have an existing diagnosis. You can provide documentation, and based on that, they can take care of that for you. And of course, there's also the link to the tutorial there. Another thing that changed was the definition of low THC cannabis. Instead of being 0.5%, it's 1%. So 1%. But, of course, the licensees are becoming more creative with their formulations. And so what this means is that 1 milliliter of cannabis product can contain up to 10 milligrams of THC. So there are 10 milligram products available. There are lozenges. There's fast-acting lozenges. There's tinctures. There's capsules. There's salves. I believe there's even a drink product with more products rolling out as well. Now, a lot of people ask, can I get cannabis flour? It's currently not available. There are restrictions, on being able to smoke cannabis. So I think once the THC content limit is to the right level where a cultivar could actually be harvested and sold, that we would potentially be able to see flour available for vaporization and cooking, but not for smoking. So another thing that people ask about is how many dispensaries there are. In Texas, there are currently 3 licensees. 2 of them have active licenses. One is not very active. I've never spoken to a human with them. Each licensee is permitted 1 physical location. However, they do provide home delivery and pickup across multiple cities across Texas, but of course that is not ideal. On this one pager, there's some information about pricing for doctor's visits, and you can also click to the pricing for each of the licensees. There's also information about your license to carry a handgun, about prescriptions being filled in another state. We put a fact page up there about veteran-specific questions. And so I think this is just a really important document for people to take a look at. Another thing that people have been asking about is, the cost and that how how much will it cost to get the medicine? For some people, it still will be prohibitively expensive, but hopefully, as more patients are enrolling in the program, that price can start to come down. I know that there has been a huge influx of patients during the month of September, and so we should see a report from DPS in a few months to let us know what the numbers rose to, and so that'll give us a good idea. Now, there's also IRB, which is an institutional research board that has been created having to do with cannabis research in Texas. They're working on the regulatory outlines for that right now, and so there may be some research programs available in the near future for people to participate in. So for example, a research applicant could say, I would like to test 10% THC cannabis for people that have chronic back pain. And that can be their study if the IRB so approves it. So that is in the process right now. I also want to remind everybody that we are coming. I know that special sessions are still occurring here in Texas, but we are also approaching voting season. So I want to encourage everyone to make sure that you are registered to vote. It's going to be extremely important. Coming in the spring, there will be primary elections, and of course, we'll walk everyone through this process. And I wanted to point out that currently in the month of October, Texas NORML is doing a membership drive. And so if you follow our website or our social media, or you get our emails, every Monday we're sending out an action for people to participate in with a call to also join our organization, because of course membership dues allow us to continue this work that we're doing. So I think that that's all that I have. Looking in the Facebook chats, there's no questions for me, but I think I see a question here. Oh, someone is loving on Lisa. Lisa, you gave people a bunch of ideas, and Carla, Emily would love to use your lab, so that's awesome.
Yay.
Yeah. Well, let me turn it back over to you, Miss Anita. That's all that I have for now.
Hey, that's fantastic. And if we don't have any other questions coming in, then I'll just go ahead and get this wrapped up with a pretty bow. I just want to thank everyone again, these amazing cannabis queens this evening, for all your hard work. And even, my goodness, Lisa, at a global scale, that is fantastic. Mad props, much respect. Carla, doing this in Texas, having that high standard with lab, what I'm very familiar with, just with, diagnosing infectious diseases with human specimens, to be able to have that high standard move to the cannabis space, it's pretty impressive. And in Texas, shout out, and I know it's a lot of work, but keep on going. And then to everyone tuning in, embrace the science and the understanding of what you're putting into your bodies. Like, get to know cannabis science professionals. Exhibit A, Carla.
Anita.
Yes, ma'am.
No, I said Anita.
Yes, ma'am. And if you've ever grown cannabis, you know that keeping those flowers stunning requires a balance. It's a balancing act of elements and lighting and providing nutrients and water and pH and the pH. So treat your body the exact same way. I mean, don't give these plants all this beautiful attention and then completely neglect yourself. Do it the exact same way, because we all are living organisms. And collaboration, it's a big deal. You wouldn't make it very far if you were just a skeletal system. We need all the systems of the body working together to make moves, right? So, but one thing I gotta say, remember your worth and your value. That is so important. Do not sell yourself short, beautiful souls, and take risk with those that have the same journey and similar values and a moral compass and all these boundaries that you have set for yourself. Make sure that you find that in your collaborations. Once again, I look forward to connecting with you all on social media. If you're looking for a cannabis science communicator, please think of me, my passion at your service. And as far as this cannabis journey, again, being so serendipitous, before going into growing cannabis, my focus is soil health. and basically just the balance of the elements. So if you want to reconnect with Mother Earth, DM me on Instagram at cbd.genie, and let's continue to learn together. I would love to share the magic of Mother Earth's chemistry as I've gone down the rabbit hole myself. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your attention, and I hope you all learned something new today.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, everybody.